Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. India to send 7 multi-party delegations abroad to advocate India's counter-terrorism stance after Operation Sindoor. US President Trump to speak with Russian President Putin on Monday on the phone to push for an end to Russia-Ukraine conflict. Pope Leo XIV is installed as the 267th leader of the Catholic Church. He urges charity and unity and condemns exploitative economic systems. Europe Super Sunday. Romania, Poland and Portugal head to the polls. India is sending 7 multi-party delegations to different parts of the world, to different countries, to present India's stance on counter-terrorism as well as Operation Sindoor. This is after the Pahalgam terror attack. Now, the all-party delegations will soon engage with key nations under Operation Sindoor, reflecting India's collective resolve against terrorism. First among the 7 delegations, all-party delegations, will be led by the BJP's Baidyanath Panda, and they will be visiting countries including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain and Algeria. The second delegation will be led by the BJP's Ravi Shankar Prasad, and they will be visiting the UK, France, Germany, European Union, Italy and Denmark. The third delegation will be led by the JDU's Sanjay Kumar Jha, and they will be visiting Indonesia, Malaysia, the Republic of Korea, Japan and Singapore. The fourth delegation will visit nations including the UAE, Liberia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, as well as, and this will be led by the Shiv Sena's Shrikant Shinde, in fact. The fifth group of the all-party MPs will be led by the Congress's Shashi Tharoor, and they will be visiting nations which include the United States, Panama, Guyana, Brazil and Colombia. The sixth delegation will visit nations including Spain, Greece, Slovenia, Latvia, Russia, and this will be led by the DMK's Kani Modi. And the final and seventh delegation, a group, will be led by the NCP's Supriya Sule, and they will be visiting nations including Egypt, Qatar, Ethiopia and South Africa. These delegations will meet foreign ministry officials, think tanks, strategic community and political leadership of the respective countries. Jessica Taneja is following the story. She's joining us now with more. Jessica, what's the mandate and direction given to these all-party delegations?
The mandate, Mark, is pretty clear, as it has been seen in the recent past in and around the country, and the emotions that have been expressed not just by the political class but by everyone across the region is the fact that the sponsored terrorism, cross-border sponsored terrorism, should not continue, and especially when it comes to putting out India's position here, which is very clear that it wants to ensure that there is zero tolerance for terrorism moving forward. And this perhaps is not the first time that an all-party delegation, which are now, as we're given to understand, going to 32 countries, is going to be very crucial in a sense. And we've seen a similar, diplomatic outreach planned in the past. If you recall, back in 1994, the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao had sent in a delegation which was headed by opposition leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee back then to the United Nations Human Rights Commission to thwart an effort where there were going to be massive implications for India in terms of the Pakistan resolution on Kashmir, especially when it comes to atrocities. That was easily prevented by that delegation which was headed by and represented by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Then again, if you recall, in 2008 as well, that is when Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, in the aftermath of the Mumbai attacks, had also sent an all-party delegation to represent India's point, and as well as that particular exercise of diplomatic outreach in order to tell our allies of the kind of cross-border terrorism India has been witness to, and its advocacy of eliminating any and every terrorist activity. Now, this overall, if you see, is of course been India's outreach programs in the past as well, in moments like these when it's been attacked by Pakistan state-sponsored terrorism. And in this case, perhaps is almost how it's playing out, and the kind of message is pretty much clear, but this time it's stern, and the fact that India has drawn a red line should be understood by its allies quite clearly.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Jessica Taneja, for putting that into context for us. And to help us understand this in greater detail, we have with us Dr. Sandeep Tripathi. He is a foreign affairs expert and he is joining us from Prayagraj. Thank you, Mr. Tripathi, Dr. Tripathi. Now, how has India leveraged international forums in the past? Jessica was telling us a little bit about that. Forums like the UN, G20 also, to isolate Pakistan over its support for cross-border terrorism.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. This is I think a diplomatic exercise, and this is not the first time that our anchor has explained that this is not first time in the history we have same exercise we have done. But the point is very clear. India's message is very bold and clear. The message is that India is a country which is a highly against terrorism. India is a country which is a zero tolerant against terrorism, to terrorism. So my point is that the way Pakistan has acted, especially the Pahalgam terror attack, India has neutralized terrorists and terror camps. But at the same time, we are a responsible country. We want to send a message to the world that we should not play, and we are not a country that play a game about a double standard. India was upset a little bit when the IMF ready to support, to fund Pakistan. India was upset a little bit the kind of message we have received from Turkey, from Azerbaijan, because India was a country that supported Turkey by launching Operation Dost. So India strongly believes India strongly believes that we have to send a message to the world that we are very, very committed against terrorism, and the country which is involved last 2-3 decades, a country which has become a epicenter of terrorism, a country that has been exercising terrorist camps against India, we are not going to tolerate. And that is why after Pahalgam, India has retaliated. India has neutralized terror camps and terrorists. And Pakistan surrendered and finally, settled completely. So I think this is a very bold message. And as a responsible country, this all-party delegation will message to the world that this is the right time to talk against terrorism. This is the right time to just remind 2001 terrorist attacks. But it was India that joined the hand with United States. So this is the right time to remind also United States and other countries, please come and unite against this global challenge.
Yes, indeed, Dr. Tripathi, but there is a huge disinformation campaign that Pakistan has mounted and seems to be paying some sort of dividends for them. And India has mounted a counter-offensive in that sense. But social media is being, utilized. Artificial intelligence is being utilized. India also has strong counterterrorism cooperation with many countries, particularly the United States, France, UAE. How can India leverage this counterterrorism cooperation plus this new setting the facts straight campaign?
That this time is psychological warfare is going on, misinformation war is going on, and we have seen the Pakistan did last 2 weeks back. But the fact is that India does not believe any kind of this misinformation warfare. We strongly believe in our mature development, and that is why with the
Well, Dr. Tripathi, we're having a bad connection with you. But thank you very much, sir, for joining us for the moment with your analysis. Moving on to our next story, locals in Shopian, they held a Tiranga Yatra on Sunday to honor the Indian Armed Forces for the successful completion of Operation Sindoor. The rally began at Batpora and concluded at the Clock Tower in Shopian. And it was led by the BJP leader and Jammu and Kashmir Waqf Board executive member Javed Ahmed Qadri. In Jammu's Riyasi, citizens gathered in large numbers for a spectacular Tiranga Yatra. It was organized as part of the Yatra of India's Glory. The rally paid tribute to the courage of India's armed forces and highlighted the unity and the spirit of the nation. In a remarkable display of empowerment and leadership, women also took the lead, marching at the forefront of the rally, draped in the tricolour and echoing slogans of national unity. They symbolized the rising strength and pivotal role of women in shaping the future of the nation. In a stirring display of patriotism and unity, a grand Tiranga rally was held in the West Indian city of Nagpur to commemorate the success of Operation Sindoor. The Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis led the rally, organized in solidarity with the nation's armed forces. In honor of the valor of the Indian Armed Forces for the success of Operation Sindoor, a bike Tiranga rally was also organized in the financial capital of India, Mumbai. The Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, has decided to suspend its agreements with universities in Turkey over Turkey's support and military assistance to Pakistan. Turkey had supplied drones to Pakistan and deployed military operatives to assist in countering Operation Sindoor, India's retaliatory military action following the Pahalgam terrorist attack. Before IIT Bombay, other premier institutions such as the Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, and the Jamia Millia Islamia had either suspended collaborations with the Turkish universities or were considering similar actions. Now, other institutions such as Kanpur University and Sharda University, a private university in Noida, they have also severed ties with Turkish institutions. The boycott has extended beyond academia, and traders have refused to stock Turkish goods, and individuals have cancelled travel plans to the West Asian nation. Online travel platforms such as Ease My Trip and others, they have also issued advisories against visiting Turkey and other countries that Turkey is allied to. The Directorate General of Foreign Trade, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, has imposed new port restrictions on certain goods imported from Bangladesh to India. According to this notification issued on May 17, the import of ready-made garments, processed food items, fruit drinks, cotton waste, plastic goods and wooden furniture will be restricted through specific land ports. These goods can only be imported via the Nahava Shewa and Kolkata seaports, with restrictions on several land custom stations in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram and parts of West Bengal. However, the restrictions do not apply to goods in transit to Nepal and Bhutan or imports of fish, LPG, edible oil and crushed stone from Bangladesh. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. A fresh round of negotiations for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas begins in Qatar's Doha. Austria wins over Israel in the Eurovision Song Contest. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Mark Lynn. In his inaugural Mass, Pope Leo XIV vowed to preserve the Catholic Church's heritage and not to rule like an autocrat. Several world leaders are attending the Mass. The US Vice President J.D. Vance, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, met the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the heels of Washington-organized talks between Ukraine and Russia in Istanbul. And these continue to be visuals that are coming in. Here, the Pope is speaking with the Polish leader, meeting world leaders who have attended the inaugural Mass. The Pope inaugural Mass is over and he continues to meet world leaders after the inauguration. Earlier, Pope Leo XIV made his debut tour of St. Peter's Square in the Pope Mobile, and he greeted tens of thousands of pilgrims and well-wishers ahead of the inauguration Mass. The formal celebration includes the first ride in the white Pope Mobile by Pope Leo. And he was elected, in fact, Pope Leo, at a conclave that ended on May 8. And he's officially installed now as the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Roman Catholics.
In questo nostro tempo,
in this our time, we still see too much discord, too many wounds caused by hatred, violence, prejudice, the fear of difference, and an economic paradigm that exploits the earth's resources and marginalizes the poorest. For our part, we want to be a small leaven of unity, communion, and fraternity.
And it's a Super Sunday for the Poles in Europe, with elections happening in Romania, Poland, and Portugal. Polling stations open in Poland on Sunday for the first round of a tight presidential election that will be decisive for the future of the country's centrist government. There are 13 candidates in total, and definitive results are expected only on Monday. Poland's runoff, expected on June 1, comes at a tense time for Europe, with the ongoing Russia-Ukraine, also rising far-right populism and strained ties with the US. Since 2023, ever since the former EU leader Donald Tusk's coalition came to power in 2023, key government initiatives have been blocked by a veto of the nationalist president Andrzej Duda. It was Andrzej Duda who we just saw earlier meeting the Pope. Poland's president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and steers foreign policy and can introduce and veto legislation.
Because we want to maintain the continuity of power, because we support the complete return of democracy, so that there won't be, as in the Polish nomenclature, any brakeman, so that the government also has the support of the president.
And I would like for everyone to finally come together, so that it's no longer us and them, but that someone who can unite people would come. because we are worth it.
Romanians began voting on Sunday in a tense presidential election runoff. It's a rerun. It's a tight race between the nationalist and the centrists that could, in fact, reshape the direction of the country. The far-right candidate, George Simeon, comfortably topped the May 4 first round, gaining close to 41% of the votes. Now he faces the pro-EU Bucharest mayor, Nixa Dan.
I have voted with thought towards the many people who are silent, fair and hardworking, and who, for a lot of time, have not felt represented. 2 weeks ago, Romanians voted for change. The question is, what sort of change? And I have voted for change which will bring prosperity and not one which will bring adventure and that discourage investment in Romania. I voted for a European direction and for good collaboration with our European partners and not for an isolation of Romania. And I voted for a society in which we can have a dialogue and not one in which we are divided.
Simeon's first round win triggered the resignation of the leftist Prime Minister Marcel Ciolasu and also the collapse of his pro-Western coalition government. Simeon has promised to redo the second round of the 2024 election if the Romanian public so desires. Polls opened at 4 a.m. GMT and they will close at 1800 GMT, and with the exit polls suggesting they published soon after, the results are expected later, in fact, in the night. Portugal is holding snap elections as well, with the centre-right leading polls. In fact, the Prime Minister Luis Montenegro is tipped to win, yet without securing a majority in Parliament. Now, final surveys indicate the centre-right Democratic Alliance is ahead of the Socialist Party and will likely pick up more seats. But once again, it's going to fall short of the 116 seats that are needed in Portugal's 230-seat parliament for a majority. The far-right Chega party is on track to finish third once more, making it a potential kingmaker, although Montenegro has refused. Montenegro has refused to govern with a populist movement. Polling stations opened at 7 in the morning in GMT time, and the final results are expected several hours later. Voters have demanded stability in the country.
I hope we are getting a government that is capable of responding to the problems we have had and that it really manages to guide the country towards a good direction.
I hope that we will get stability, not the kind we'd like, but the best it can be.
Updates now on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and the US President Donald Trump has said that he will speak separately to the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to push for a ceasefire deal between the two countries. In a social media post, Trump said that his call with Putin will be on Monday. Trump's remarks came a day after the first Moscow-Kiev talks in 3 years failed to yield a ceasefire agreement. Putin had declined an invitation from Zelensky to attend Friday's talks, sending a lower-level delegation in his place. Following the talks, which led to an agreement to exchange 1,000 prisoners each, Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said the next step would be a meeting between Zelensky and Putin. Earlier, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, they spoke with each other on Saturday. And during that call, Rubio welcomed the prisoner exchange agreement reached during the recent talks between Russia and Ukraine in Turkey. The Secretary also emphasized the U.S. President Donald Trump's call for an immediate ceasefire and an end to the violence in Russia's war in Ukraine. The Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Saturday reaffirmed Canada's support for Ukraine in his first face-to-face meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky since winning the election. The leaders met in Rome. During his meeting with Zelensky, Carney said that the Canadian support for Ukraine extends to the president's leadership.
The Canadian people stand in steadfast and unwavering support of your leadership of the people of Ukraine. We admire what you're doing. We admire your commitment to peace, as you've demonstrated again this week. And we underscore that there can be no peace without the full support and participation of Ukraine, and that you have our absolute support.
The Ukrainian president thanked the Canadian Prime Minister Carney for his support. Zelensky also offered some remarks on the recent peace talks in Turkey in Istanbul.
I think that it's important. It's important when two sides want to finish the war, and we really waited for Putin, and he didn't come. We think that he's afraid of bilateral, just direct talks. But anyway, I think that the decision of exchanging of prisoners, war prisoners, is very important. 1,000 people, it's a lot, and I hope we will get this result. And of course, we had to make pressure, more pressure on Russia, on Putin, to really to make peace as quick as possible.
Israel and Hamas have resumed fresh round of talks on the Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal in Qatar. The new ceasefire talks are being held in Doha, and the first round took place on Saturday afternoon with the help of Qatari and US mediators. Hamas has agreed to release hostages in exchange for a 60-day truce, and Israel releasing Palestinian prisoners. The new proposed deal would also allow the entry of 408 trucks a day and also the evacuation of medical patients from Gaza. Israel is yet to respond to the proposal, but said that they said prior to these talks that it would not withdraw troops from Gaza or commit to an end to the conflict. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that Israel's new military operation is aimed at expanding the scope of the conflict and dismantling Hamas, which would continue until the objectives are met. The Arab leaders have urged the international community to press for an immediate ceasefire as Israel launched an expanded military offensive in Gaza. In the final statement of the 34th Arab League summit, which was held in the Iraqi capital of Baghdad, the leaders of the bloc's 22 member states, they called on the international community to exert pressure to end the bloodshed and to ensure unhindered humanitarian aid to Gaza. The leaders also reiterated their rejection of forced displacement of the Palestinian people, which continues and constitutes a violation of international law. The bloc also called for funding for the reconstruction and recovery plans for the Gaza Strip. Speaking on the sidelines of the Arab League summit, the UN Secretary General Guterres, he's urged for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, emphasizing the need for a two-state solution to the conflict.
We need a permanent ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages, the free flow of humanitarian aid, and an irreversible action towards a two-state solution.
Let's take a look now at other stories making news from around the world. The Mexican authorities have detained 9 alleged members of a criminal gang, a group that has killed 12 people. In fact, the Mexican authorities have killed 12 other people. Now, what's happened is that the arrested individuals are reportedly linked to serious crimes, including homicide, extortion, and kidnapping. The operation took place in a rural area, and it highlights the ongoing efforts to combat organized crime in the region. 2 volumes of over 2,300-year-old Zidanku silk manuscripts arrived in the Beijing Capital International Airport. This is on Sunday, after being returned by the Smithsonian National Museum of Asian Art. The silk manuscripts, which consist of 3 volumes, were unearthed in 1942 from China's Hunan province and were illegally taken to the United States in 1946. Austria's Act JJ has won the Eurovision Song Contest 2025 in the Swiss city of Basel, and in the country's first victory since bearded drag queen Conchita Wurst had won in 2014. And this win was Austria's third in the competition following Conchita's success and Udo Jürgens' victory in 1966. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. 17 killed in a massive fire in Hyderabad. Prime Minister Modi expresses anguish, announces ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees to the kin of the deceased. At least 25 people are killed and dozens injured in powerful storms and tornadoes in the United States.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. India to send 7 multi-party delegations abroad to advocate India's counter-terrorism stance after Operation Sindoor. US President Trump to speak with Russian President Putin on the phone on Monday to push for an end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Pope Leo XIV is installed as the 267th leader of the Catholic Church. He urges charity and unity and condemns exploitative economic systems. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will visit the Netherlands, Denmark and Germany from the 19th to the 24th of May. During the visit, the EAM will meet the leadership of these countries, of the 3 countries, and also hold discussions with his counterparts on the entire gamut of bilateral relations and regional as well as global matters of mutual interest. India's Minister of State for Defence, Sanjay Seth, will lead an Indian delegation at the 17th edition of the Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition, Lima, in 2025. Now, Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition, or Lima, it's held at Langkawi, which is in Malaysia. It's held from the 20th to the 24th of May 2025. An Indian pavilion is set up there at Lima 2025, and it's to be inaugurated by the Minister of State for Defence. Many defence PSUs are also taking part. Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, Bharat Dynamics Limited, BEML, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Gliders India Limited and private defence companies are participating in this exhibition showcasing India's defence industry prowess. This year, the Indian assets include the Donya aircraft and an Indian naval ship will be participating in the Lima 2025. India and Malaysia have a robust and multifaceted relationship which has expanded into several strategic areas including defence and security. Lima, established in 1991 and held biannually, is also regarded as one of the largest and most significant maritime and aerospace exhibitions in the Asia-Pacific region. A devastating fire broke out in Gulzar House under the jurisdiction of Mir Chowk police station in India's Hyderabad. 17 people have lost their lives. The flames quickly engulfed the area, prompting a swift response from fire and rescue teams who managed to save several people trapped inside. 11 fire tenders were pressed into service immediately on the information. Among the deceased were 3 women and 2 children, and the injured have been shifted to nearby hospitals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed deep grief over the loss of lives due to the tragedy in Hyderabad. In a social media post, the Prime Minister conveyed condolences to those who have lost their lives, to lost their loved ones, and also wished a speedy recovery for the injured. The Prime Minister announced an ex gratia from the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund of 200,000 rupees, 2 lakh rupees, to the next of kin of each of the deceased, and 50,000 rupees for those injured. The India Meteorological Department has issued a multi-hazard warning on Sunday. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is very likely at isolated places in Assam, Meghalaya, southern Karnataka and sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim. This is according to the latest forecast. Thunderstorms accompanied by lightning and gusty winds. They are going to be experienced and expected at isolated locations in Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh and Kerala. Heat wave conditions are also likely to prevail at isolated places over Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit, Baltistan and western Rajasthan. An unstable spring weather system spawned tornadoes in the US Midwest and Ohio River Valley, killing at least 25 people in Kentucky and Missouri and causing widespread damage to homes and property. At least half a dozen tornadoes touched down in Missouri and neighboring Illinois. Well, the tornadoes ripped through St. Louis, where an additional five people were killed and 38 were injured and 5,000 properties were damaged. In Argentina, the National Meteorological Service issued a red alert for the northern Buenos Aires province because of heavy rains. Severe flooding has hit the city of Campana in Argentina, leading to mass evacuations as residents struggled to cope with rising waters. The National Meteorological Service reported rainfall between 150 to 250 millimeters between the cities of Zarate and Arrecifes. At least they've been warned, and the warnings that storms are constantly regenerating. More rain is expected there. 2 people died and several others were injured after a Mexican naval ship, a training ship, hit the New York Brooklyn Bridge late on Saturday night. New York's City Mayor Eric Adams informed that the naval ship, which is called Cuauhtemoc, it lost its power and crashed into the bridge. The Mexican ship had 277 on board, of which 22 sustained injuries.
The coordination was extremely important, and it was executed to the best of our ability to minimize any loss of life. Our hearts go out to the family members, and many family members are going to be traveling here from Mexico. We want to make sure we collaborate with the ambassador and his team to give them the proper information at the hospital.
Parts of Indonesia's Java Island, especially along the northern coast, are sinking at an alarming rate. This is causing more frequent tidal flooding, and some areas, in fact, have sunk below sea level in the last few years. Experts say that part of the problem is overpumping of groundwater, causing the soft ground to sink deeper. They've been calling for more sustainable solutions, and these involve local people, local communities to protect both people and nature.
The island of Java in Indonesia faces the threat of sinking because of several factors such as groundwater extraction and rising sea levels. In some places by the coast, the land is sinking by 10 to 18 centimeters per year, and experts warn that parts of the island will be underwater by 2035 if nothing is done. In Pekalongan, known as Indonesia's Batik City, about 100 families have moved away from Samonet village. Land compaction, abrasion, and continuously rising sea levels have wiped out the village completely, making it unlivable.
Dulu karena saya itu lahir di Samonet, itu sangat jauh sekali dari permukiman warga, untuk menuju ke bibir pantai kurang lebih itu 700 meteran. Jadi untuk saat ini semuanya sudah tinggal kenangan karena sudah jadi lautan semua.
Pekalongan is home to hundreds of small and medium-scale batik producers. The industry uses a lot of groundwater, which contributes to the sinking of the area. The city is built on young sediment, so extraction of groundwater causes the land surface to fall lower and lower below sea level.
Dampak di Pekalongan sebenarnya yang terbesar itu sebenarnya rob. Cuma daerah-daerah yang kena dampak rob itu juga banyak perajin batiknya. Penggunaan air tanah itu kan harus diminimal, apalagi nanti ada efek untuk masa depannya.
To preserve the cultural heritage of Pekalongan, players in the batik industry must first be aware of the threats that could wipe out their workshops.
Harapannya itu ya tetap ini batik sebagai warisan budaya tak benda dan sudah diakui UNESCO. Generasi penerus inilah yang nantinya akan meneruskan budaya kita.
Without this awareness and collaborative effort from the government and public, it is not impossible that Pekalongan will cease to exist in the future. The sinking of Java Island, among other reasons, is also a catalyst that prompted the Indonesian government to create a new political capital in East Kalimantan. The new capital is estimated to have lower risk for natural disasters such as flooding and tsunamis.
Thai construction tycoon Premchai Karnasuta surrendered himself to the police over the Bangkok building collapse that killed nearly 100 workers during a powerful earthquake in March. Premchai and 14 other suspects were affiliated with companies responsible for building design and construction. They have been accused of negligence and breaching construction regulations. There were also irregularities in construction materials used, including substandard concrete and steel, while investigators also discovered forged signatures on engineering documents. So the 30-story State Audit Office tower in Bangkok, we remember it collapsing from the tremors that were caused by the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that struck Myanmar, India's neighboring country, as well as Thailand's neighboring country. Now, rescue teams have recovered 92 bodies during a 6-week operation, with 4 still unaccounted for. Heavy rain battered several cities in China's southern Guangxi province. It's a region, and this happened on Saturday. The authorities raised the flood level and alert. This is to the highest level. In Guangxi's Longlind city, flash flooding killed 3 people and left 1 still missing, according to state news agency Xinhua. The Meteorological Bureau advised residents to take precautions against natural disasters such as floods and mudslides, as the heavy rain is expected to continue over the next 2 days. Coming up, the Indian Premier League, Delhi Capitals will be hosting Gujarat Titans. It's a must-win match. Crystal Palace beat Manchester City in the FA Cup, and they win their first major trophy. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, at the crossroads of creativity and global partnerships, India is shining at the 78th Cannes Film Festival. There was a special session dedicated to Maharashtra at this festival. And for the 10th consecutive year, Marathi cinema is making a strong presence at the Cannes Film Festival. So 4 new Marathi feature films were creating quite a buzz. The Maharashtra government is there in collaboration with the Film City of Mumbai. They're providing a platform for young filmmakers to network with international producers, distributors and Gurinder Kaur Chadda, a British film director, talked exclusively to Jaya Sinha, our correspondent, about her collaborations and co-productions with the Indian film industry.
What brought you, Khan? You have a special screening of your movie. Tell us about that.
Yes, I have made a new movie called Christmas Karma. It is my version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And my Scrooge is a very wealthy, very mean-spirited Indian businessman from Britain who is not very fond of poor people. So he has to learn empathy. But I'm super happy. It's a great cast. Yes.
So tell us about this co-production and how you're trying to mix both the cultures, India and UK, and just presenting on the global stage.
You see, you have to, I always say you make films from the inside out. And what am I on the inside? I'm Punjabi, I'm Indian, I'm British, I'm a Londoner, I'm all these different things. I'm married to an American. And all this comes to play on how I see the world. So for me, it's natural.
What do you think today? We have major presence in all of the festivals around the world, Indian cinema, Indian films, Indian actors doing really well. So what do you think about that? And also a plan to make a true masala Indian film with Indian actors. Nobody presented Aishwarya the way you presented. It was so beautiful in that film. So any plans for that?
I would love to do something around Punjabi music, and let's see, maybe this is something, I've been working on it, I just have to find the time to make it happen.
So with camera person, this is Jaya Sinha reporting for DD India from Cannes Film Festival.
The sports news now. Punjab Kings are taking on Rajasthan Royals in the Indian Premier League in Jaipur with the hope of strengthening their playoff chances. Punjab Kings skipper Shreyas Iyer won the toss. He opted to bat. The team have handed over a debut cap to Mitchell Owen and also Marcus Stoinis. In fact, because Marcus Stoinis and Josh Inglis, they are missing from the squad. Shreyas Iyer led PBKS. They aim to clinch 2 crucial points. And this is a tall chance for them to reach the playoffs. But the Rajasthan Royals, their regular skipper Sanju Samson is back to lead the squad, and he has replaced Nitish Rana in the playing 11. Rajasthan Royals have already been eliminated from the competition. In the second match of the day, Delhi Capitals, they are hosting Gujarat Titans. This is also a must-win match as they need to win all the 3 of their remaining games to qualify for the playoffs. Gujarat Titans need just one more win to seal their playoff spot. Shubman Gill and Sai Sudarshan, they have been rock solid for the team at the batting order at the top of it. In fact, Delhi, meanwhile, have a few concerns. Their bowlers have been expensive and they're going to be missing the services of their main fast bowler, Mitchell Starc. And DC's batting, that's Delhi Capitals batting, has also lacked consistency. The match is set to be a thrilling affair as both teams look to seal a playoff. Relishing pleasant morning weather, hundreds of enthusiasts along with GST officials and sportspersons participated in the Fit India Sunday campaign. It's a cycle campaign. It took place in New Delhi on Sunday. The Indian chess grandmaster, in fact she's the Indian chess player, Tanya Sachdev, along with the Special Secretary of CBIC GST, Shashank Priya, led the cycle ride from the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium with an aim to spread the message of fitness as well as the fight against obesity. So as the initiative completes 24 weeks of its inauguration, it was a special Sunday indeed, as there was a huge amount of participation for people from all walks of life. And speaking on this occasion, the Secretary of the CBIC-GST, Shashank Priya, said that such events further boost Prime Minister's vision of a developed India by 2047.
We are aiming, Honorable Prime Minister has given 2047 as the goal for us to become a developed country. And if you see any developed country, physical fitness is part of a healthy population. So as we want to grow, we also need to be healthy, because that is what will help us to improve our productivity, our GDP.
The Indian chess player, international master, Tanya Sachdev, hailed the Fit India Sunday on cycles, and it's a platform, she said, to motivate more and more people to take fitness more seriously in their lives. She spoke to Priya Yadav.
While it may just be a normal Sunday for most of us, it is not for the people who have come here for Fit India Sundays on cycle. And with me right now is one of the greatest players of Indian chess, a FIDE chess champion also, Tanya Sachdeva. How do you see such events promoting physical fitness among the people?
Just fantastic. I mean, to make fitness fun and community driven is so incredibly powerful. The Fit India movement by our Honorable Prime Minister Modi sir, who's a huge believer in sports and the power of sports. And then we've got Sundays on Cycle by our Sports Ministry, by Mansukh Mandavia sir. And to see 600 people on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. come together in Delhi to get on a cycle, to ride together, for a fitter Delhi, for a fitter community, was a very special Sunday.
Tanya, for most people, chess is just it's a mental game and requires mental stamina. How do you think physical fitness is important for playing chess as well?
The brain and the body function together, and for your brain to go into its optimal capacity, it is absolutely essential for a competitive player to have a strong level of fitness, because chess is played over 3 to 6 hours when we're talking about competitive chess at a high level. And what you really want is your brain to be functioning at its max capacity in that R4, R5 when mistakes happen. So fitness of the body goes hand in hand with the fitness of the mind.
How do you see such events like Fit India Movement and fitness and Sundays on Cycle events in view of how people change their entire direction of thinking of health and fitness?
I think a fitter, a healthier community is also a healthier country, and movements like these, initiatives like Fit India, like Sundays on Cycle, go a long way, because one realizes that you could be from anywhere. You could be a young boy, a young girl, or you could also be an elder citizen. You could be an athlete. You could be a newcomer. It doesn't take much to get on a cycle. It doesn't take much to get on a movement. You need a little bit of will, a little bit of motivation. And I think initiatives like this, just say log jud jate hain, it makes you feel you don't need to go to a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. So it's really a great way to do it. And I think you just have better outcomes in everything in life with fitness.
With camera person Monty, this is Priya Yadav for D-Day India.
And Diya Chitale, they progressed to the second round of the World Table Tennis Championship finals with wins in their respective singles matches in Doha. Chitale eased past Spain's Sofia Schoenswingen 4-0 in the women's singles, and Manu Shah overcame a spirited challenge from Portugal's Apollinia and won 4-2 in the men's singles. Shah will face his Paris Olympic medalist, a bronze medal winner, Felix Lebrun, in the next round. And India's top-ranked women's singles player, Shrija Kula, has crashed out of the tournament, losing to Sutasini Sebatbat of Thailand. Tennis news now, and world number one Yannick Sinner is going to be facing Carlos Alcaraz in the Italian Open final showdown on Sunday, big match. Sinner ended a 47-year wait for an Italian to reach this final at Rome after Adriana Panatta had lost to Bjorn Borg in 1978. So playing on home clay for his first tournament since the 3-month doping ban, Sinner overcame an off-key start before overcoming the 11th seed Tommy Paul in the semi-final. Meanwhile, Sunday's final will mark the first meeting between Sinner and Alcaraz since October, when Alcaraz won the China Open final in a third-set tiebreak. Alcaraz holds a 6-4 edge in their career meetings and has won 3 straight games against his biggest rival. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.